Boys, welcome back to the channel, baby. You guys know the drill. Hopping in the routine of things. As always, we just got done at the gym. On our way home, recording this video and gonna get it uploaded for you guys, man. So, gentlemen, what we're speaking about in today's video is really the psychological shift that I had that really led to the progression first, and then the progression is what actually led to me finding profitability. Okay, it's not like I just had this shift and then I was profitable all of a sudden. I had this shift in my mind, and then from that day moving forward, I was able to start actually making the progress in the right direction with my trading, and that's then over a period of time what led to my profitability, okay? And so what it is, I want you guys to really pay attention to this. What I had to do was stop trying to predict the market, and I had to start trying to predict myself, okay? What do I mean by that? Boys, what I mean is, instead of me coming into the markets every day, just trying to focus on, the technical analysis and the focusing of the setups and where I think price is gonna go and all these things. By the way, shout out Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Really, I learned this approach from that book where he's like, you aren't trying to come into this game and predict price and be right every day. What you're trying to do is, or what you realize you're doing is just playing a game of probabilities, and that's it, right? You're not here to predict price every single day. And so these shifts happen then. And so instead of taking that approach, what I really had to do, and the shift that happened, is realize that I need to start being able to predict myself. Because realistically, the biggest problem that I had that led to my unprofitability was myself, was the over trading, was the revenge trading, was the greed, the fear, the unconfidence in my system, in my setups. It had nothing really to do with the charts themselves. And so I had to start predicting myself in how I act once I do show up, and even in how I show up to the charts in the first place. And that is the shift that you have to have for yourself. You have to become so aware, and this is why I say trading is truly a game, bro, of self-mastery, right? You just have to become so, you have to grow so much as a trader, bro, and as a person, in order to grow as a trader and find profitability. And I always like to say, just look at the people at the top of the game, man. Look at their levels of self-awareness that are profitable, that are actually profitable. Look at how they move. Have you ever noticed truly profitable traders? They have this character trait about them where they're super calm. They're super, it seems just like patient, like self-aware. Like it's almost like they pay attention to things a little bit different, a little bit more in detail than your average human. They don't get mad as quick because they've grown, man. I promise you, if there is someone the opposite of that that's in the trading space, I can pretty much guarantee you, or heavily at least to myself, think this guy's not even profitable. Because I promise you, somebody that hasn't grown as a person hasn't grown as a trader, man. This is a skill that literally changes your whole life. This is a career, essentially. And you have to grow as a person to grow in this career. And so the levels of self-awareness is really what dictated the shift and then the progression into the profitability. Because after that day where I truly realized, dude, all of my problems are seriously coming from myself. Because what used to happen is I would literally take good setups, not all the time, right? Definitely not all the time. But in my trading, there were good setups. And so whenever I would look at my MT4, because especially back then, all you were trading on is MT4 or MT5, I would see these bigger profit targets getting hit, 3 to 1s, 5 to 1s. If I was on 100K funded or challenge, whatever, 5 grand, 3 grand, 3.5 grand, 2.5 grand, those were my wins. And so I always knew my system to an extent is working, right? But then it would always just be followed by like a series of L's and like a series of just like self-sabotage, bro. Because I knew that after that dub, all those L's I took were literally my mistake, right? Literally my mistake. Because I was trading too much or forcing setups, all this stuff, taking a dub and not being able to walk away, going back in and then taking a loss and then, wanting to make that money back. And then so you go back again. And the next thing you know, you just like fucking ate up all of the profits you won for the day. Or you simply are just taking 5 positions a fucking day. And so this is why I say, what I had to do is I had to stop trying to predict the markets, bro. And I had to start trying to predict my fucking self. I was like, okay, what is it that I'm going to do today to fuck up my own trading? What is it that I'm going to do today that's going to make me lose money once again, right? And then once I was able to predict that and then stay away from those predictions, that's when it was actually able to like to literally follow my system and find profitability, bro. Because after those days, right, like what happens after you predict how you're gonna fuck up your own trading? You start to avoid those things, and so then you start to implement rules, constraints like barriers to keep you within check, basically. And what do you call this? You call this essentially your trading plan, right? And so it's literally just the more aware I became, the more of this shift that happened in my mind, the more of a systematic, the more of a disciplined approach I had to start taking and implementing, right? And so this is when I truly started to have like the one trade a day rule. I was like, you know what, before anything, this is like the golden rule in all of my trading at one point. I mean, it still really is today, but I'll speak about that a little bit. It was like, I can only take one setup, right? Because why am I predicting myself? What's one of the biggest problems I have? I trade too much. I'll look back the next day and I took 3 positions, 2 positions, 5 positions. Why? Why? When I know I need to be taking only one, right? And so that's one of the things that I did off rip. And then any time that I would go about that, because guys, it's not like I was like, hey, you know what, I'm taking 1 trade a day, and then I just started following that. No, fuck no. I said, hey, I'm gonna take 1 trade a day, and then next thing you know, you still have days where you don't follow your plan. So I'd look through my trading rules, like, all right, I didn't follow my fucking rules like twice this week. I took 2 fucking trades here, and for some reason I took 3 trades on this day because of the psychology problems, right? Because you guys all know it's very easy to make rules for yourself, but the hard part is actually fucking sticking to those rules. There's a reason this industry is so hard. There's a reason finding profitability is so hard, because you have to listen to yourself, right? And so I had to start making these rules for myself. And so that was the first one. To this day, I still really follow the same exact rule. The only difference in what I do now, and I wouldn't even recommend this to beginners. I would recommend this to if you're a little bit more advanced in the game. But if you're still unprofitable, dude, just the best thing you can do is just limit yourself to 1 trade a day. I mean, at least with the way that we trade. But what I do now is I pretty much still have the same rule where it's 1 trade a day. The only time I will take 2 positions in a day is if on the same pair that I'm trading that I took that loss on, I find a re-entry to get back in within the same idea, the same plan. Okay, otherwise I don't, that's it, I'm done for the day. The only reason I have that is in case, I get like stopped out. Maybe I had too early of an entry or something like that, and then I have like an added confirmation, like a break of structure, or price action plays out nicely after I already got stopped out. Then I will get back in, but that's it. Nothing further than that. And this is why I say though, if you're not, for you guys still trying to find profitability, and you have to be very honest with yourself, if you aren't making money right now, you're unprofitable. It's simple as that. This all starts from the self-awareness, okay? Don't say you're profitable knowing damn well you're making no money trading, okay? Or think you're good when you know damn well if you were good, you'd be making money right now. You're not, right? And so for all of you guys like that, just stick to the 1 trade a day rule. No exceptions at all yet, right? Because you just need to train yourself. This is why back then, I just had to train myself to just stay disciplined and no exceptions. Just one trade a day, that was it. No ifs, ands, buts, going essentially down to the next line. Well, if, here, then we can take another one. No, it was like, I need to implement these hard rules in my trading, bro. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to start training yourself to become disciplined, to stay within your systems. And so this is why I talk about this a lot on my channel, because I became disciplined outside of my trading, in the gym, in the journaling, all of it, right? But so that was one of the things. The second thing was really understanding my setup, my strategy, my market approach, just my understanding for the market as a whole, kind of like my entry confirmations. What is it that I'm really looking for? And when do I want to be involved? When do I not want to be involved? Because one of the biggest problems I had back then is I would take counter trend trades, and I would notice this quite a lot, because I would have, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, especially if you've traded with me, if you're one of the boys and you watch this video, or you're in the one-on-ones, shout out the one-on-one, by the way, boys. If you haven't applied and you want to actually find profitability, you guys can apply the links in the description, or go watch the video that's in the description. Then you can apply. I would definitely recommend you watch it first. But anyways, something that I heavily noticed, and the boys that have worked with me have also noticed this, because it's very simple, right? Anytime you're in a trending trade, the setup is so clean, it's super simple, and usually take profit is hit very, very fast with price action. Why? Because you're in line with the higher time frames, with the actual trend in the market's favor, right? Where price action, where orders, all these things, where targeted liquidity is going. And so the position plays out super smooth. And then what would happen is I noticed I kept getting in all of these counter trend trades because of my impatience, because I'd show up to the charts every day. I'd mark out my zone that I want market to come into, and then trade from that zone to highs or to lows. But instead, I would try to trade into that zone as like a retracement or a fucking counter trend trade, right? And I noticed I would just keep getting like stopped out a lot of the times, because retracement trading is super choppy. It's super unpredictable, because again, you're going against the market, like against the wave. You always want to be in line with the wave, right? And so implementing these kind of rules, again, being able to predict myself and then stop those bad habits that were leading to my profit. It was like, okay, so what I need to stop myself from doing is this impatience, is these setups, coming into the game every day and forcing and taking these setups because the other ones aren't there, and I'm just being impatient and I want to show up and trade, right? And so I had to like stop all of this stuff. And what is it realistically? It's just a refining of my strategy, of my rules. Again, it was literally just me predicting myself and understanding all of the bad habits, all of the bad shit that I was doing that was leading to me being an unprofitable trader, and filtering it all out until only good stuff remained. And then what happens when only good stuff remains? Well, fucking profitable trader, right? And so once I was finally able to really have like a lock, and after the continuous filtering, then shit started to come easy, man. It's like I was working the least I ever had, I was the less stressed that I ever was, and I was making the most amount of money I ever did through trading, right? All because I stopped trying to predict the markets and started to predict myself. So boys, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you guys were able to take something valuable from this video, and understanding the psychological shift that had to happen within myself that really led to the progression, and then the progression is what really led to my profitability. As always, I love each and every single one of you. If you guys actually want to start working towards the same thing, finding that progression, that awareness, that discipline within your own trading and finding profitability, you guys can apply to work with me in the one-on-ones down below. There's also a video that you guys can watch before applying. Definitely recommend. But with that being said, gentlemen, love each and every single one of you boys, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Let's fucking get it.